Hi, I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. As we head into the 10th week of the NFL season, the playoff picture is starting to come into focus, Tom.
Boy, out in the West it is. Oakland 8-1 leads by 3.5, and the Rams lead by 4, and they've won 7 times and lost but twice.
NFC Central picture is pretty clear, too. Minnesota's 7-2 after the win. They lead by 3.
Yeah, big one beating St. Louis,
right.
I think, on Monday night. But how about the AFC Central?
Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. The Bengals, with that big victory last week, are right back in the picture.
Anderson was incredible, I guess. What? He had 16 straight from one game to the next.
Right, and 20 out of 22, I think.
Incredible.
NFC East, St. Louis is now 7-2, and Washington 6-3, and Dallas 5-4 play this week.
Well, I think that's the wild card spot everybody's talking about, but I don't think the Cardinals can take that division for granted yet. I think they still got to win a couple.
That's going to be a tough game in Washington. AFC East, Buffalo and Miami, both 7-2, and they play this week.
And they play in Miami, where I understand the Dolphins haven't lost in 28 straight.
Remarkable. We'll be right back with This Week in the NFL after this message.
It used to be that every game the Houston Oilers won was considered an upset of near epic proportions. Well, last week they did it again, but don't be surprised if 1 week soon the Oilers are listed as favorites.
From the outset, it didn't appear to be the Buffalo's day to roam. But then the Oilers also seemed reluctant to execute in a winning manner. And number 12, George Amundsen's arm was loaded with blanks. Finally, however, the Bills' faulty play outlasted Houston's, and much of the blame must be carried by Buffalo's Joe Ferguson and the 6 interceptions he threw. This one helped start the Oiler gusher, and number 34, Willie Rogers, gave Houston an early lead on his 13-yard off-tackle jaunt to the end zone. Then Dan Pastorini went to the air with good success as number 23, Vic Washington, turned near disaster into a healthy gain. Pastorini to number 82, Mac Alston, up the Oiler lead to 14-0, and another stunner was in the making. A good punt return by Buffalo's second-year cornerback Donnie Walker, number 26, finally put the Bills on the right track, and 2 John Leipold field goals put them within striking distance. But throughout the afternoon, Joe Ferguson was having passing problems of one sort or another. There were times when he had to make long searches for wide-open receivers like number 89, Wallace Francis. Then there were times when he searched, fired long, and saw an easy touchdown to J.D. Hill, barely tipped away. And then there was the added frustration of a field that was inches too short. Finally, and most destructive to the Bills' plans, there were those ever-painful interceptions. This one picked off by number 22, Zeke Moore. But in the end, it was not Buffalo's ineptitude. Rather, it's Houston's steady and remarkable improvement that decided the game when Vic Washington sprinted in to make the final score 21-9. 3 in a row for the Oilers. And look out, NFL, because the one-time town pushover is carrying some new muscle.
Statistically, pro football teams are measured just about to the millimeter, Pat, but if you really want to know whether your favorite team has gotten serious about being good, see how stingy they are with turnovers and if their special units are really effective.
That's right, Tom, and the New England Patriots seem to have forgotten the secrets of their early season success when they got tangled up with the Cleveland Browns last week.
From the opening kickoff up in Foxborough, the Patriots began overlooking the secrets of their success when they let Greg Pruitt do it to them for 88 yards and a touchdown. Pruitt's kickoff coast from coast to coast was his first since leaving Oklahoma, where he played for Chuck Fairbanks, the man who is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. Another look at Pruitt's prance through the Pats once again recalls a lesson that there is a big place for a quick little man in a big man's game. And no one is more aware of this than Chuck Fairbanks, who has used both Randy Vataha and Mac Herron to great advantage this season. But this time, Fairbanks reaped the whirlwind, as Pruitt, who used to do it for him, now did it to him, and that's irony, English students, that's irony. But for the Patriots, facing the league's most generous defense, the sudden 7 points didn't seem to be a significant setback. Then New England erred in the second imperative and gave away a turnover. Mac Herron lost the handle after receiving a Jim Plunkett pass, and Tom Darden, who could contribute twice more to the Cleveland cause with interceptions, turned the turnover into 6 more points, and the Browns took a 14-0 lead with less than 2 minutes gone in the game. In the second quarter, New England began recouping their losses. A 10-play attack on the ground led to the Patriots' first touchdown. And the next time the Pats got the ball, Jimmy Plunkett was right back in business. A tough rush from the Browns forced Plunkett to put this mallard up for grabs. But a charitable interference call in the end zone gave New England first down at the Cleveland 1. And Sam Cunningham banged over with his second short score to knot the game at 14. Late in the game, Brian Sipe got the Browns' attack in gear. The Cleveland drive led to a tie-breaking field goal, but a penalty gave Cleveland another shot at 7 points. Cleveland's offense cashed in its only contribution of the game when Ken Brown banged over, and at least temporarily, the Patriots seemed to have lost the winning knack, losing to the Cleveland Browns 21-14.
Last week in Cincinnati, the Bengals found themselves facing the Steel Curtain at a must-win game in which victory was necessary to keep their AFC Central title hopes alive.
Last week, Cincinnati's quarterback Ken Anderson was bigger than life in a record-shattering performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. For the day, he connected on 20 of 22 passes to set a new single-game completion percentage mark of 91%. In addition to that, he set a new consecutive completion mark of 16 in a row, a string which began 2 weeks ago and continued over the Steel Curtain. Anderson's passing put the Bengals in good shape early, and number 43 Ed Williams put them on the board 7-0, despite protestations by Pittsburgh's number 27 Glenn Edwards, from whom you'll hear more of later. In addition to Anderson's passing, the Bengals also benefited from a scintillating punt return by number 37 Tommy Casanova. This led to a field goal and a 10-0 lead. You are about to witness magnificence. When the Cincinnati margin got almost comfortable, the Bengals began to miscue. A spectacular reception by number 18 Charlie Joyner was null and void, when Joyner subsequently fumbled and Pittsburgh recovered. And then Ken Anderson ran into some real trouble when, in scrambling for the sidelines, he was strung out by Glenn Edwards. And so Anderson left the game briefly due to a ringing cranium, while Edwards exited for good due to an unsportsmanlike display of overzealousness. All that aside, the Steelers got on the board on Preston Pearson's short jaunt, following a Bengal 1-yard score which made it 17-10 Cincinnati. And then once again, the game centered on controversy. Number 26, Charlie Davis, was aiming the Bengals for another score when the ball got loose. But did it get loose after he was down or not? No one seemed to know, and no whistles blew. So Pittsburgh's number 23, Mike Wagner, helped himself and soloed 69 yards before the Bengals could collect their wits. The play and the day were both saved by Ken Anderson, who turned himself into the NFL's groggiest record setter. Then, with time running down, it was all up to the Cincinnati defense. And as they had all afternoon when it counted, the Bengal protectors repeatedly repulsed quarterback Terry Bradshaw's last-ditch efforts. The 17-10 Cincinnati victory tightened the AFC Central race considerably, and now the Bengals trail the Steelers by only half a game in a division where even a steel curtain can't afford to sag.
Both the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Diego Chargers have had disappointing seasons thus far. And now, once proud champions are struggling to stay out of the cellar in the AFC's Western Division, Tom.
Well, that's sad but true, Pat. But although victories have been limited for these teams this year, last Sunday in Arrowhead Stadium, both clubs displayed an occasional, exciting flair for the big play.
One basic element present in both squads is the ability to deliver a blow and pack a body-twisting wallop. The Chargers' knack for hitting wasn't merely confined to the field, and you can probably get an amen to that from number 27, Woody Green. Yes, even the Kansas City sidelines were not safe from the ghoulish lusts of the San Diego secondary, leaving the Chiefs little recourse but to retaliate. But the Chiefs did put together some productive offense, like this rump by rookie Woody Green. But the big chunks of real estate came by way of number 16, Lynn Dawson, to number 83, Larry Brunson. Dawson connected with Brunson for one of the season's most exciting plays, an 84-yard touchdown explosion. But unfortunately for the Chiefs, that was the extent of their scoring, while the Chargers would score twice. One, a short blast by number 41, rookie Bo Matthews. The second Charger tally resulted as the blue and gold clicked behind the strong right arm of rookie quarterback Jesse Freitas, number 17. Freitas provided some fireworks of his own on a 71-yard scoring volley to number 27, Gary the Ghost Garrison. Both Freitas and Garrison are former San Diego State stars, and it was this touchdown spectacular which gave the Chargers the lead 14-7. Though the Chiefs fought back, they couldn't recover as Lynn Dawson was snapped down hard. The Chargers won it 14-7 over the thoroughly disgusted Lynn Dawson and his Kansas City Chiefs.
The Denver Broncos, a team many picked to contest the title in the AFC West, have had a truly disappointing season. But last week against the struggling Colts, the Broncos caved in Baltimore like a bowling ball mowing down duck pins.
From the outset, the enraged Broncos pillaged and plundered the Baltimore Colts. All day long, quarterback Marty Domre's nemesis was Barney Chavez, number 79, a multi-talented second-year defensive end. Chavez's interception was disallowed. His temperature boiled over and spilled into the lap of the luckless Domres. Determined to make the Colts pay dearly, Chavez relentlessly pursued Marty all across Memorial Stadium until he exacted his pound of flesh. With their defense roaring, the special teams howled as Bill Thompson blazed 60 yards on a punt return. Denver cashed in on Thompson's return for 6 when Charlie Johnson's fake froze Rick Volk, number 21, and Riley Odoms had an easy touchdown. For most of the game, the young Colts held the skittering runs of Otis Armstrong in check. Only once did Armstrong escape, but it was enough to turn a close game into a Bronco victory. The game ended with a display of sportsmanship that has become expected between receivers and defensive backs. No longer does one spike the ball. Now you must spike your opponent. Final score, Bad Sports 17, Good Sports 6.
Last weekend, Pat, the Oakland Raiders scored more points than anyone else in the league, and they did it rather easily.
Right now, the Raiders are an easy and loose bunch, Tom, and why not? After all, they're riding an 8-game winning streak, and that's the longest in the NFL this season.
The Oakland Raider defense has a good luck charm, and it's Otis Sistrunk's head, which you merely rub briskly and affectionately in order to make the opposition's offense disappear. Last week it worked as the Lions came up with only one big play. This Billy Munson to Charlie Sanders hook up good for 47 yards. Then number 42, Altie Taylor, went around left in for 1 yard and the touchdown, and Detroit was finished for the day, because from then on the Raiders were no less than devastating. Their Mahler defense repeatedly stopped Detroit's plays, door-nailed dead. As for the Raider offense, they got off the mark quickly when they scored in the first period on a 5-yard Marv Hubbard blaster. Next, rookie running back Harold Hart, number 34, came up with a stunning 25-yard double desire run into the end zone. Then the silver and black blew the game open when Ken Stabler hit number 21 Cliff Branch, who made a good diving catch in the end zone. The Stabler-Branch connection continued to wax prodigious on this 36-yarder, and once again brought back the memory of the big bombing run days of Darryl LaMonica and Warren Wells. The Raider defense kept its hand in when Munson's pass was intercepted by number 55 Dan Connors, whose theft led directly to the wrap-up. For the grand finale, it was again Marv Hubbard who blasted 20 yards for the score. In appreciation of his blockers, Marv handed the ball to center Jim Otto, who looked like he's been spiking balls all his life as the Raiders roared over the Lions 35-13. Last Sunday, the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers met in Milwaukee to decide which team belonged in the cellar of the NFC Central, Pat.
It was a rain-drenched game, Tom, and for Gary Huff and his newly pass-conscious Bears, the slippery conditions spelled hard times and basement blues.
Abe Gibron was all smiles before the game until he remembered that the Bears hadn't scored a touchdown in their last 11 quarters. But on their first play, it appeared the touchdown moratorium was nearing a conclusion as Huff heaved the Bears downfield. But the packed 27-yard line was as close as they could get, and the Bears had to settle for a three-pointer, which was it for the afternoon as the touchdown famine would stretch to 15 quarters. After having been beaten by the Bears earlier this season, the Pack was up last Sunday, and part of the reason was number 56, Ted Hendricks' inspirational play. The other part of the reason was a very wet football, which left Gary Huff looking downright silly on more than one occasion. The weather bogged down both teams' offenses, and it was all tied up 3-all with just 28 seconds left in the half, when number 84 Steve Odom received a punt at his own 5-yard line and started looking for the Chicago goal line. "95 yards later, his search was over as Odom, the rookie from Utah, put the Packers ahead of the Bears 10-3. From that point on, the weather deteriorated and Chicago's hopes for victory faded rapidly in the mounting gloom. But only the Bears stood under a black cloud last Sunday, as number 12 John Hadle kept the Packer offense above water throughout the day. And number 22, John Staggers, showed hydrofoil form on this 53-yarder in the third quarter. Once in close, the Green Bay attack featured a made-to-order mutter in number 42, John Brockington. And by the beginning of the final quarter, the Pack led 13-3. Obviously, rain and sludge don't favor offenses, and last Sunday, Gary Huff got thrown for a total of 47 mud-mopping yards as he learned firsthand the amphibious nature of the Packer defense. Appropriately enough, it was the Packers' defense that set up the game's only touchdown from scrimmage, when a Huff blooper was tipped into the startled hands of number 76, Mike McCoy, which gave the Green Bay Packers a 20-3 triumph over the basement-beleaguered Bears.
Last Sunday, the Los Angeles Rams almost assured themselves of a playoff spot, Tom, as they now hold a 4-game lead in the NFC West with just 5 left to play.
Right you are, Pat. Their victims last Sunday were the Atlanta Falcons, whose 2-7 record is a sad commentary for a team many experts had predicted to be strong contenders this season.
After persistent rumors, Norm Van Brocklin was fired last week, and defensive coach Marion Campbell was named to direct the Falcons until season's end. But his job is certainly unenviable when you consider that last Sunday, a peanut jockey in Los Angeles sometimes seemed to have as good a pitching arm as fallen hero General Bob Lee. It actually wasn't that Lee was off target so much as it was that the General was the target for blue and gold sack seekers. Four times, Lee passing fancies were preempted by Ram defenders whose savage play completely dominated the Atlanta offense. But if the Falcons' O was shut down, the Rams' attack was turned on, primarily by the explosive bursts of number 30, Lawrence McCutcheon. 22 carries, number 30 gained 140 yards, which gave him a league-leading 859 yards for the season. But last Sunday, Lawrence McCutcheon was only part of the Rams' attack as James Harris started to warm up a high-potency weapon called Harold Jackson. Harold blew a called strike on the first bomb, but came right back with a 40-yard catch and score that put the Rams' first 7 points on the board. But it was only the beginning, because in the fourth quarter, Harris was trying to reestablish a habit as he threw another one for Jackson to run under. Harold's diving catch summed up the 21-0 LA victory and promised a renewed dimension of offensive fireworks for the playoff-bound Rams.
With all the early season excitement in New England and Buffalo, some people may have forgotten that another team in the same division is still very much in the running. In fact, last week, the two-time world champion Miami Dolphins finally found their way back to first place.
When the Dolphins arrived in New Orleans last Sunday, who could blame them for being confident? Despite numerous injuries, they were winning, and now they had back their almost indefensible big play battery, Bob Greasy, to Paul Warfield. Mercury Morris, just off both the injured list and the suspended list, again did not play. His substitute, number 32, rookie Benny Malone, again did play, and again showed the reckless style which had gained over 100 yards in each of his two previous games. With the running game running hot, Bob Greasy faked a run and threw over the Saints' goal line defense to tight end Jim Mandich. The first two times the Dolphins had the ball, Greasy marched them to easy touchdowns. The second on a perfect post-pattern pass to rookie receiver Nat Moore, number 89. In the second quarter, Greasy again fooled the Saints' goal line defense with a play-action pass to Jim Mandich, and the Dolphins led comfortably 21-0. The Saints could muster few offensive threats until the second half, when Archie Manning took matters into his own hands. Twice, Archie had the Saints marching in, but both times something devilish happened. First, Bob Matheson, the 53 in Miami's 53 defense, intercepted inside the 10. The only other time the Saints came close, they were stopped 4 times inside the 5. The Miami shutout was preserved 21-0, and for Archie and the Saints, the frustration of yet another losing season was just too painful to endure.
Last week, the New York Jets and the New York Giants fought the Battle of New York in New Haven, Connecticut, Pat.
Wasn't exactly the Super Bowl, Tom, but there were super high emotions and an interesting matchup of two former Super Bowl quarterbacks.
10-year veteran Craig Morton was greeted unceremoniously by the New York Jets, while his counterpart, another 10-year veteran, at times seems to be posing for a portrait before unleashing his lightning. While Craig Morton had been unsuccessful on his first series, Joe Willie Whiteshoes connected on his first 3 throws, including a dart to David Knight for the early lead. In the second quarter, Broadway Craig Whiteshoes got the hot hand. Walker Gillette's 41-yarder set up a Morton rollout and an unartistic but effective touchdown flip to Bob Tucker, which gave the Giants the lead 10-7. Neither team could score another touchdown until the final seconds of the third period, but near misses are always frustrating. Just ask Emerson Boozer, number 32. Craig Morton's pass to Bob Grimm put the Giants ahead 20-13 after 3 quarters, but the best was yet to come. In the fourth quarter, with a 3rd and goal at the Giant 3-yard line, Joe Willie Gimpy faked to Emerson Boozer and then pulled off one of the year's most unusual happenings. Namath said later, "I was to take a look and decide if I could do it. The hard part was deciding whether to run. Running it was not tough, and this is from a guy who can't run across the street." Namath's score made it 20-20 and sent the game into the second regular season overtime period in NFL history. The Giants won the toss and drove to the Jets' 25. Where on 4th and 1, Pete Gogolak tried to win it with a 42-yard field goal. The official under the upright ruled that the kick was wide. Pete Gogolak says he was robbed. Hungarian lip readers, please avert your glance. After 6 minutes and 53 seconds of overtime, Joe Namath passed to Emerson Boozer, and the New York Jets were the first team ever to win a regular season NFL game in overtime. Although Joe and the Jets haven't won many big ones since Super Bowl III, and only one other this season, they'll never forget the day that Joe slew the Giants in sudden death at the Yale Bowl.
The Bunyan-esque footsteps that ominously pound just behind the Cardinals and Redskins belong to the Dallas Cowboys, who seem to be ready to take a giant step in the NFC East.
At Texas Stadium, the Doomsday defense smothered the Big Red Wave and held the 49ers to a meager 64 yards rushing. On passing situations, number 72 Ed Too Tall Jones was too much for Norm Snead in the collapsible San Francisco pass pocket. On offense, Roger Staubach naturally directed his aim toward Drew Pearson, the lithe and limber receiver who leads the NFL in receptions. On the strength of a field goal and a brutal head-on smash by Calvin Hill, the Cowboys led early and easily 10-0. But nothing has come easy for Dallas in 1974, and their early momentum died after a few helmet-rattling licks by San Francisco. Mixing up his short passing game, Snead directed the 49ers to a touchdown with a play-action strike to tight end Ted Qualick. Rookie quarterback Tom Owen took over when Snead was injured, and he honed in on the splendid hands of Gene Washington. Owen could not produce any points, and Dallas led 13-7 until some heroics by tackle Bob Hoskins, number 56. Another look at the play reveals that Hoskins looped behind in Cedric Hardman, number 86, and came in clean to cause and recover Staubach's fumble. From the Dallas 12, Owen lobbed one to Gene Washington at the end line, and San Francisco led for the first time, 14-13. With less than 15 minutes to play, the Doomsday defense made Owen pay for his touchdown pass. Spurred by his defense, Staubach began to drive Dallas goalward with a piecemeal passing attack. The big play was a screen to Walt Garrison that set Dallas up nicely at the 49er-7. For the last 7 yards, Staubach turned to Calvin Hill, who had 153 yards on the day, and Calvin's second touchdown iced a hard-fought 20-14 Dallas victory.
Since Mike McCormick left the Washington Redskins, where he was an assistant coach to George Allen, and became the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, those Eagle-Redskin matchups have been among the fiercest in the NFL.
Oh, Pat, they've been very physical. That's been the real key. And last Sunday's reunion in Philadelphia's Vet Stadium certainly upheld that physical tradition.
Preseason predictions warned of a giant new shadow lurking upon the horizon of the NFC Eastern Division. However, after wins in 4 of their first 5 outings, the mammoth silhouette cast by the Philadelphia Eagles had dissolved into the disappointment of 3 consecutive losses. Against the Redskins, though, Roman Gabriel opened strong for the Eagles, and employing a short passing tactic, Philly drew first blood. Harold Carmichael's sterling catch netted the Eagles a 7-0 advantage, but on the next series, the roof fell in. Bill Malinchak blocked the punt, and later Dwayne Thomas cashed it in to tie the score at 7 apiece. The game then settled down into a pursue and punish, pain-inflicting struggle. With Redskin defenders performing a war dance on his already severely bruised rib cage, Roman Gabriel was forced to summon every ounce of his gutty determination just to rise again. Before the afternoon ended, Gabe would again be facing the sky. But each time, the 13-year veteran would rise to fight again, and from his courageous effort, the Eagle defense drew strength. Turkey Joe Jones led the Eagle assault, only to have Billy Kilmer unravel all progress with one long flip. Charlie Taylor's 51-yard reception was pretty, but resulted in no Redskin points. However, by the game's second quarter, the Eagles were again on the doorstep of Touchdown City. Harold Carmichael's second TD reception gave Philadelphia the lead at halftime, and by the start of the third quarter, the Eagles were threatening a rout. John Bunting's theft put the Birds in business, leaving it up to Roman Gabriel and Tom Sullivan to reap the dividends while gaining the upper hand at 20-7. It would, however, take only one play to alter the Eagles' victory plans. and with demoralizing devastation, the tide was turned. Number 55, Chris Hamburger, fell on Gabriel's bobble, and with stunning swiftness, the Redskins were back in it, trailing now by only a 20-14 margin. Washington then issued a call to its cavalry, and presto, saddled under center was number 9, Sonny Jurgensen, set to rally his troops to the rescue. Charlie Taylor had beaten number 20, Johnny Outlaw, badly on the post, and he wasn't about to let the Eagle corner forget it. 2 Redskin field goals tied the score at 20-all despite stiff fourth-quarter opposition. But Jurgie thrives on pressure, and from the Eagle 30, and with barely 2 minutes remaining, Jurgensen coolly delivered. A blitz had forced single coverage on the peerless Charlie Taylor, and again beating Johnny Outlaw, the 11-year super receiver vividly proclaimed superiority amid an end-zone victory observance. However, the ritual appeared premature as Roman Gabriel generaled his squad to the Redskin 9-yard line with 48 seconds left. Gabriel's final fling died as number 20, Ken Stone, silenced the Eagles' closing prayer to preserve a rampant 27-20 win. Next up for the Skins, the hotly pursuing Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I'm really beginning to enjoy this. Prediction time, and I've got you down, 21-18.
I'm going to have to start remembering what my daddy told me.
What's that?
I can't tell you.
Okay. St. Louis and Philadelphia. What about that one? Tell me.
I sort of like the Cardinals.
I'll go with the Eagles one more time.
Okay, Green Bay at Minnesota.
I've got to go with the Vikings.
I got to agree with you there. Cincinnati at Houston, this all of a sudden becomes very tough.
And you know, that's a good Houston defense, which I think has been really unheralded. I'm going to go with the Bengals, though, to win it.
Dan Pastorini says they're going to win all the rest of them down in Houston. I can't believe that, though. Cincinnati's my pick.
Okay.
Dallas, Washington.
Oh, you and I are going to be there. Redskins seem to win the ones they should, but the Cowboys are coming on like gangbusters. I'm going to go with Dallas.
Even in spite of what we saw Sonny Jurgensen do last week?
Yeah, even in spite of that.
He always has good days against Dallas.
Who are you picking?
I'm picking Dallas.
Okay. Buffalo at Miami.
Oh, there's a tough one. I guess Buffalo's hurting a little bit, huh?
Yep.
I'll pick Miami.
All right, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I'll give you a shot.
Keep in mind that Miami has won 28 straight at home.
I'd like to change, but I can't.
Okay. At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens. I'm Pat Summerall.
And I'm Tom Brookshire, and we'll see you next week.